Hi, I'm Darryl Tank with 5-Pencil Method, and one of my students, Alejandra, has sent in a picture that she thought she'd like to have critiqued and wanted to know if I could make some suggestions, and I'm going to do that. I want to say right away that her drawing is just a wonderful drawing. It could very well just be left like it is and just be very effective. But there are always some things that we can take a look at, especially when we have good reference like this, that will help us to be able to maybe improve things. If we want to have some goals to make some things more effective, then by all means, let's just go through a little checklist here. I'm going to take my Photoshop and I'm going to make a few lines, and it won't be like a pencil, but at least it'll be close. It'll help us to be able to start seeing that we want to take advantage of angles. Now, I didn't get that exactly the right angle, but when we have a reference, we can put this right along in line with any angle and see how we can duplicate it. We have an opportunity to make sure that we have some clean edges. I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit darker as I'm making a few adjustments in Photoshop. I want to make sure that I have good clean edges, because these are the things that are going to help us have the ultimate in dimension, that much more of a 3D effect. And we want to make sure that we have good clean edges when we have that dimensional edge and not have it become soft, because that helps us separate it from the soft edges to value that are for contours and shadows that help us show that contrast. And then we have a few places that, if you pay attention, you can keep from having something become structurally different. This earring goes around the earlobe, and yet here it looks like the earlobe is just as long as the earring at the bottom. And so let's go ahead and go back up in here and make sure that we know where the edge of that earlobe is. And so there we have a little bit different structure. We also want to take advantage of things that are in front and things that are in back. Sometimes those are going to be light things, sometimes they're going to be dark things. Often light things come forward, and we want to be able to make sure that we don't have something becoming too bright. And so this edge of the ear, maybe it's a little darker back here than it is on this side, and I want to make sure that I'm showing that it goes behind this part of the ear. So let's go ahead and maybe even create a little bit of a clean edge here and back this off so it isn't quite so bright. I have this value too light. But if this is too light in that dark area, then it's going to come forward. That's usually the way it happens. And yet we also have places that are forward that are dark, like her hair. And we can fully take advantage of some of these opportunities to show that we have the ear behind. We can take advantage of her little side burns there, a little bit of the hair, and make sure they go over the ear. And so this helps us show that something's past. And it's a great opportunity for us to show some additional depth and dimension. So over here is the same thing. We have some of this hair coming down in front of the ear. You can very well take advantage of it. Now again, this isn't going to be real accurate, and it's a little bit stark because I'm putting something very dark there, and I would have to bring some other things up in value. But there are many opportunities for me to say, okay, I think this should be maybe a little cleaner. Again, we have a little shorter earlobe than the ear ring, and this gives us the opportunity to have a better shape and structure to some of her features. Now, there are other things that we always want to take advantage of, and you might notice that as you take advantage of your features, we can look at the eye and come right straight down here, and where does it line up with the mouth, and we can tell how wide the nostril is. And it looks like the nostril would probably be a little farther out here. But sometimes just a little bit can make a big difference on what are those features in a direct relationship to the rest of the face. And then we have opportunities to show some depth. We have this curl come down here. We can go past it and use the rules of light that are included in lesson number 3 on 5-Pencil Method in the core concepts, and think about where it would be darker. A lot of times you can just make a decision like that without even understanding or seeing it clearly in your reference, and we can make sure that this isn't lighter, but it is actually back where there's less light. So I can pull this whole curl forward by taking advantage of that and making sure this is the shaded part behind where there would be less light, especially when we have the light direction coming this way. And so it's really pretty logical that it would be darker on the other side of that curl, farthest away from the light. And we can go all the way through our picture and show a lot of things like that. If I wanted to be able to show more dimension over here, then again I could take this and make it a little darker so that this makes this more dimensional. We can start isolating maybe the highlights in this very dark-haired little girl and giving it a little bit more of a dimension to it. So some of these things I think are great. Some of the wonderful things that I can do just without really saying too much are making sure there's good focus, not getting too carried away, but having a little darker pupil. We can go ahead and make sure that we are in control of the highlights, and we don't necessarily have to follow the photograph or the reference that we have, but we can make those decisions and use some of the principles that'll make this a stronger and picture and have our drawing and have even more opportunity to express it. So these are some of the things that I would point out. We could maybe make the neck darker and a few things like that, but I hope this will help you, give you some new goals if you want to, and yet again, this is a wonderful drawing just as it is. So I look forward to seeing more of your work, Alejandra, and thank you for letting me give you a few pointers on this one.